Alright, so you guys asked for it and today you're going to get it. We're going to review the Irwin Marples 3/4 inch woodworking chisel. So it's been almost 2 days since I published the video on the 10 tools that cost less than $10 on Amazon, and the vast majority of you did request a review on the Irwin Marple chisel here. I would say it's definitely a close second between the chisel and the Clark Brothers hook knife here. So I think what I'll do is I'll make a second video on the hook knife because a lot of you guys would definitely like to see that as well. So here is the chisel that we're going to review today. I have resisted taking it out of the package until we did this review because I wanted you to see how it came packaged. As you recall, I paid $9.99 for this on Amazon, and I did give you a link to that in the last video. So I spent a little bit of time today researching the Irwin and Marples brand. And what I found is that the Marples brand was founded in the early 1800s in Sheffield, England, and then the Irwin brand was founded sometime in the late 1800s. The Irwin brand, I believe, has gone through several different owners over the years, and then in the 1990s, Irwin purchased Marples. Therefore, you have the Irwin Marples brand. Several different options on the Irwin Marples chisels. You can get the woodworking chisels, which is this one here, and then you can also get a carpentry model, which is shaped a little bit differently and is also designed for hitting on the end with, say, a hammer. So for the purpose of today's video, I'm going to have a comparison, and I'm going to use the Stanley Sweetheart chisel. I've owned this chisel now for probably 2 years. It's the Stanley Sweetheart 750 series, and it was a reproduction of the Stanley Sweetheart chisels that were made in the early 1900s. Now this is not a apples to apples comparison, but this is the best that I can do because this is the other 3/4 inch chisel that I own. The Stanley Sweetheart chisel is a socket chisel, meaning there is a wood handle that fits into the steel portion of the chisel. And this chisel on Amazon currently is $36. I think you would agree that that's quite the price difference. I did purchase both of these chisels new, although this one is about 2 years old. So let's take a look at these two chisels side by side. The Stanley Sweetheart chisel is approximately 9.5 inches in length, and the Irwin Marples chisel is about, looks like 10 inches and a quarter in length. The most obvious difference between the two is the handle. The Stanley Sweetheart chisel has what is known to be the hornbeam handle, and it's a socket handle. And the Irwin Marples chisel has a polypropylene handle. My understanding is that's a type of hard plastic, and it's hard to say exactly how it fits on the actual chisel portion, but I have a feeling it's somehow molded together and it doesn't appear that it could be removed. So the two major differences already is that if this handle breaks, it would be very difficult to replace it, where it wouldn't be all that difficult to replace the handle on the Stanley Sweetheart chisel in the event it was to break. The Marples chisel also has a beveled edge, and I believe that the design was for people cutting dovetails. It makes it easier to cut dovetails having a beveled edge versus a straight edge. It may be difficult to see on video, but you can certainly see the machine marks on the steel all along the bevels and the flat edges of the chisel. You can see the machined edge as well on the back here. Really, it's the same for my Stanley chisel as well. You can see the machining marks on that as well. Now you can see where I flattened the back, so disregard that. So by reading the labeling on the steel, it says 19 millimeters or 3/4 inches in width, and then it says Irwin Marples on it. Now according to the web, the Marples chisel has a Rockwell scale of 58 to 61. I don't really completely understand what that means. Maybe one of you guys who are into blacksmithing could tell us all what exactly that means. I assume that is a number that helps compare it to a certain density of steel, but I don't know how to really understand that. Another big difference in the Irwin Marples chisel and the Stanley chisel is that the Stanley chisel is actually made in Sheffield, England. And as you probably know, Sheffield, England is famous for the quality of steel that comes from there. The Marples chisel is made in China, and it's very clear on the packaging that that's the case. So the overall ergonomics of the chisel, the Marples chisel definitely is overall bigger. The handle is thicker and it's longer, and it gives you a larger grip surface than, say, the comparison model here of the Stanley. There is also some rough edges on the plastic here that I assume could be sanded down and smoothed if it was to cause friction against your hands when you're using it. I'm sure one of the questions you guys have is did it come sharp? Was it shipped to me sharp? And I mean, it looks sharp by looking at it, but it doesn't feel sharp by touching the edge. And I think we can try cutting a piece of paper here and see how it does right out of the package. We can also see if it's shaving sharp, and that's definitely not the case. So you can see there that it looks sharp, but it certainly doesn't appear sharp by just our quick testing so far. So when I get a new chisel, the first thing I like to do is check the back for flatness. And we can do that by just taking the tool and running it on one of the diamond plates here just to see how flat it really is. Probably 20 or 30 seconds on the fine diamond stone, you can see that the chisel, the back of the chisel actually is pretty flat. So you can see the machine marks, and you can see where I'm actually touching the stone. I'm touching it around the edge here, and then also a little bit here and here. I haven't at all started to flatten the middle, but that's okay. All we really care about is that the end of the chisel is flat and it meets the bevel. It's probably not visible by camera, but I can tell that I'm touching the stones on the outside of the chisel here, or on the end of the chisel, but not at the very, very tip just yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down through the coarse, fine, and extra fine stones. And I'll probably spend about a minute on each stone, and then we'll come back and see how well we're doing. I mean, I don't think it's going to take a lot to get the end portion of the chisel flat. Probably going to be hard for you to see, but only about 5 minutes on the diamond stones, and the back is very flat. I think you can probably see that there's still a low spot right there in the middle, but that part won't hurt anything. It's flat on the edges and at the tip of the chisel. So I went ahead and ran it down through the fine and extra fine grit, and then I just stropped it a little bit. It will take quite a bit longer to get all the machine marks out, but those will come out over time. It's been a long time since I flattened the back of my Stanley Sweetheart chisel, but I can almost assure you it is actually faster to flatten the Irwin Marples chisel than it was the Stanley Sweetheart. So I was just checking to see what the bevel is on the Irwin chisel, and it looks like it's almost exactly 25 degrees. When I was researching the topic, I couldn't find what the degree bevel of the Irwin came as, but I did see that the Stanley factory bevel is 30 degrees. So for today's test, I'm going to keep the bevel at 25 degrees. So I'm just going to go ahead and set it in my Veritas honing guide here at 25 degrees. Today is not a sharpening tutorial, but I can definitely tell you using a honing guide makes it so much easier to sharpen your chisels. I used to do it freehand and man, I struggled. So that was about 20 minutes on the stones. I think I spent probably 5 minutes on the back and probably 15 minutes on the front. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see, but I reprofiled the majority of the bevel, probably 3/4 of it. Either it's not machined to be perfectly 25 degrees or maybe my jig is off just a little bit. But I can tell you it is very, very sharp. So let's go back to the paper that we had earlier that we were just tearing and puncturing and not actually cutting, and seeing how we do now. Best thing about a new chisel is sharpening it. So we've got a piece of pine here. We'll put that in the vise and see how it does cutting that. Cut a little bit of oak as well. So now on the vise I have a piece of cherry. I want to try paring a little bit with it. So this is pairing with the grain, and it has absolutely no trouble with that. Now we can go against the grain a little bit. I know I shouldn't, but I give all my chisels the shaving sharp test as well, and it is definitely shaving sharp. So what do we learn today? The Irwin Marples chisel is cheap. $9.99 for a quality chisel probably is about the best price you can find. After spending some time sharpening it, it sharpened up pretty easily. It took about 20 minutes, but I can tell you the steel feels hard. I mean, you know, the steel does feel hard when you're sharpening it, and it does seem to hold a nice edge. Now, I mean, I cut a piece of pine, I cut a piece of oak, and a piece of cherry, and it's still shaving sharp. I guess it remains to be seen if you can use it for a week or two and it not dull on you. But I think it's a reasonably good piece of steel for $9. Ergonomically, the chisel has a nice feel to it. It's got a nice big handle on it, and it's nice and heavy, and you know, overall it feels pretty good in the hand. For me, the only downfall is the plastic handle. I don't love it, you know. I really like my Stanley Sweetheart chisels. I love the fact that it's got a wood handle, and I can make a new handle in the event this one breaks. Is this something that you're gonna, you know, keep in your family and hand down to your kids and your grandkids and expect it to last lifetimes? Probably not, but you know, for $9.99, I think this would be a fantastic buy for a new woodworker who is just getting into the craft, or even a seasoned one who wants a economically priced chisel that, you know, in the event that it gets left at a job site or dropped on the ground or something, you're not going to be heartbroken. So I was just looking on Amazon, and you can buy a 3-piece chisel set which has the 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch chisel, along with a hardwood mallet for $39.99 on Amazon, free shipping with Amazon Prime. You know, so that's what, $10 a chisel and $10 for a nice hardwood mallet. I think that's a pretty good deal. I'll definitely put a link in the description to that set, and I'll also put a link in the description to the individual chisels. I'm really happy with this chisel. If I had it to do over again, would I buy the Stanley Sweethearts? I probably would, just because I really like that wood handle, and I like the fact that, that I can replace it. But I think this is a really, really good budget woodworking chisel, and I don't think you'd be disappointed in it. So that's all the time we have for today, guys. Next time we'll be taking a look at the Clark Brothers hook knife that I also bought on Amazon, and it was, I can't remember, it was less than $10. But be looking out for that video. Be sure you leave a thumbs up if you like this video, if you like the reviews like we did today, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again for watching.